I just set a new unsupported fastest known time of 14 days, 7 hours and 49 minutes on Australia's Bibbulmun Track. 1,000 kilometers or about 620 miles across the entirety of southwestern Australia. It was the hardest thing I've ever done by far, and I've recapped the entire adventure, the entire FKT attempt on my podcast, the Life Outside podcast. So if you're interested in hearing how it went, I'll leave a link to that podcast episode in the description below. But in this video, I'm going to run through my entire gear list and my packing strategy, which has been much requested, and give my thoughts on what worked well and what really didn't. I had a starting base weight of about 3.1 kilograms or roughly 6.8 pounds. And with some of the changes that I'd make in hindsight, which I'll go through in this video, I reckon I could have saved another 200 to 300 grams or about 10 ounces. Before I run through my kit, a couple of things to note. An unsupported FKT gear list, while similar, is not going to be exactly the same as your typical through hiking gear list. For example, I had to carry roughly 15 days worth of food with me from the start, meaning I had a much heavier and larger capacity backpack than I would usually take on a long through hike. My usual long distance hiking backpack weighs about half as much as this one and is a much smaller capacity as well. Also, I carried 30,000 milliamps worth of battery packs with me on this FKT, which is much more than I would typically take on a long distance through hike, which obviously adds a significant amount of weight. On the contrary, I didn't actually have to bring a shelter with me on this trail specifically. The Bibbulmun Track has evenly spaced shelters along the entire route, so that saves a bit of weight as well. In saying all that, let's go through my FKT gear list. I've repacked my bag exactly how it was on the FKT, and we'll just unpack it together and I'll go through everything in as much detail as I can. Before we get into my pack, I'm going to run through all the clothes that I wore. I brought very minimal amounts of clothes with me, really just one set, so I didn't really take this off, what you see I'm wearing right now, for the entirety of the 15 days. I was filthy, disgusting, but it was just the most efficient way to do an FKT. So I had this Rab Sun hoodie, which was really nice, super lightweight, breathable, really happy with it. I wore a pair of Under Armour tights, which really helped avoid chafe in the inner thigh and the butt and all that kind of stuff, which was really successful. A pair of Salomon running shorts, which were also really good, super lightweight and breathable, which was awesome. And then for my footwear, I had Ultra Lone Peak 9s. So these were really, really great. Huge fan of these shoes, super durable, and just let the feet do what they want to do, which was super key for me. I've got Ultra Gators as well. Also absolutely imperative just to stop debris, rocks, sand getting into the shoes. I never had to take my shoes off once to empty them, which is a massive time saver. And when you're on FKT, every second counts. And then I just wore Injinji toe socks. So that was pretty much everything I wore, and a cap, a Nike cap. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with everything. I don't think I'd change much. All right, let's get into the gear. So my pack was the Durson Kakwa 55 litre. Really happy with this pack, weighs about 800 grams. I'm not going to go through the weights of every single item in this video. I probably won't even mention every single brand, but as I mentioned, check the description below and you can click on the lighter pack list and you'll get all the details there. Really happy with this pack, held up well. My starting weight was about 17 kilograms with all of my food and a bit of water, plus my 3 kilogram base weight, and it held up really well. It was super comfortable and really can't complain at all. You're not going to be able to carry that much weight with a pack much lighter than this, I wouldn't think. My sleeping mat, which was the cause of a bit of controversy online, was this Z-Lite from Thermarest that I cut down. I cut it in half, so half the panels I snipped off, and I even kind of cut the corners off as well, so ended up cutting its total weight by about 50%. And it wasn't the most comfortable thing in the world, but it did do the job. I think in hindsight, I would have left maybe one extra panel on, which would have given me a bit more flexibility with my sleeping setup. But overall, I think, yeah, it was pretty good. All right, before we dive into what's in the front here, I'll go through the rest of my sleep system because it's at the top here. So inside my pack, I had everything in these Nilo Flume pack liners. Keeps everything waterproof, doesn't weigh much at all. So this was my sleeping bag. This is the Cumulus from, what's the brand? Ariel, I think. Ariel. Really cool little sleeping bag. It's got like a false bottom, so all the down that would typically be under you when you sleep doesn't exist in this bag. It's just a piece of fabric, which significantly lightens the weight. And this sleeping bag doesn't have a zipper or sort of any bells and whistles. It's just basically as light as a sleeping bag can be. This one's rated to 2 degrees Celsius, and I was warm enough for pretty much the entirety of the FKT. Obviously, doesn't get super cold in the springtime here in Western Australia. There was a couple of chilly nights that were sort of low single-digit Celsius, but did the job for me pretty well. I did actually carry with me a pillow as well. So I had this Ultralight from Cedar Summit, which in hindsight, I'm not sure if I would have brang. It was really nice having a pillow, but I think I could have just probably used some of my food as a pillow and saved 50 or 60 grams. Not sure on that one, but I usually do sleep better with a pillow. So I decided to bring that as sort of like a bit of a comfort item, because sleep I knew would be a super important factor on the FKT. This is pretty much the only extra clothes that I brought outside of what I'm wearing. This is a Montbell rain jacket, just a really lightweight shell, and it did rain probably 4 or 5 days on the FKT, so I was very grateful to have this. It was also just a nice layer to have on cold mornings and to wear at night if it was a particularly cold night as well. So that got plenty of use, but I didn't bring a down jacket, didn't bring any long pants. It was just my shorts and no spare clothes, no sleeping clothes. It was very minimal. Hygiene was not a concern for me. I'm sure other people were concerned about me because of my terrible hygiene, but on an FKT, it's really just about going as fast as possible. And to do that efficiently, you don't bring many clothes. Also in this Nyla Flume bag, I had 2 pairs of spare socks. So I brought 3 pairs of socks in total, all 3 in Gingy toe socks. I had 1 of their lightweight liners and then 2 of their shortcut trail runners. And got a few holes in the socks, but 3 pairs was enough for me. I was able to rotate through them when they got damp or whatever the case. So that was a success. I probably wouldn't change that at all. And then also in this bag, I kept my tech stuff. So I'll go through all of my tech stuff. I have my phone here somewhere. Oh, my phone's just over here. So I had my iPhone with me, which is what I use to film and to navigate. I have a Garmin Fenix 7 Pro as well. So that was my watch of choice for tracking the FKT. And then I had 3 10,000 milliamp night core battery packs. So a total of 30,000 milliamp hours. And I think I could have gotten away with only bringing 20,000 milliamps. That's one of the big weight savings that I think I could make in hindsight. I did use all 3 battery packs, and I was, very low on battery towards the end of the trail. But I wasn't super conservative with my phone usage, and I think I could have done better. So that's something I might have changed. And on an unsupported FKT, you are allowed to charge in towns. Not that you really want to, because it's a massive waste of time sitting at a power point. But I did bring out a wall charger, and so I was able to charge my battery packs and my phone very occasionally when I walk through towns. Sorry about the noise. I'm sitting at like a public park and there's sort of cars driving past. There's a duck about 2 feet away from me right now, which is probably off camera. But that was my wall charger, like a 65 watt, just 2 times USB-C charger, pretty efficient. I had the Nightcore new 25 headlamp, super ultralight, and I did a lot of night walking. This was able to last me sort of 6 to 8 hours of usage, so pretty much a full night. So that was really good, no issues there. Instead of bringing my usual AirPods, I brought wired earphones for this FKT. I just wanted sort of one less thing to charge, I guess. And these are super lightweight and battery efficient, so they worked really well. And then I brought 2 USB to USB cables for charging, so I could charge 2 things at once. They're obviously really short, so they don't weigh a whole lot. And then I brought this little Garmin adapter, so that just clicks onto my USB cable, and then I could charge my watch using that for basically like 2 grams of weight. So that was pretty much all of my techie stuff, and I'd keep all of that in a Ziploc bag just to avoid it getting wet, which luckily nothing got too wet, which is great. And then the other thing in the main compartment of my bag was another Nylophlume bag with all of my food. This is not the food I took on the FKT, it's just a bunch of stuff that I dumped in here for the video, but all of my food was in another Nylophlume to keep it dry, and that would be at the bottom of my pack. And yeah, that worked pretty well. Obviously didn't need to access my food that often, so all my sleeping stuff, my charging stuff, and my extra socks and my rain jacket were at the top for easy access. In the front netted pocket of the Durst & Kakwa, I had my cold soaking jar, which is just a 750 gram peanut butter jar. This was the first time I ever cold soaked on this FKT, and honestly it wasn't too bad. I enjoyed all my meals, probably because I was just so damn hungry. I was in about a 3,500–4,000 calorie deficit every day, and so food, no matter whether it was cold or hot, was delicious, and was always happy to eat. And then I had my little Cedar Summit spork as well. Didn't get a short handle one or anything, I just liked the versatility of that, and it's not too heavy. That was basically everything I used to eat. And then I had like one large Ziploc bag for all of my trash, which I would just pile in here to keep it sort of together and not mess up the rest of my bag. What else we got in here? This is my toileting Ziploc bag. So I had a little trowel, I had my bidet. I didn't really use the trowel and bidet that often. I think I did 2 or 3 bush poops along the whole bib because, like I mentioned earlier, there's campsites with shelters and toilets along the entire trail. Also had a bit of extra toilet paper there as well if I needed it, but mostly I just used the track campsite toilets, which was quite nice. So not a whole lot for my toileting situation. I didn't bring any soap or hand sanitizer, which you guys probably are cringing at a little bit, but I was just trying to be as lightweight as possible, and I just did my best to be as clean and wash my hands with just water as much as I could. Also in this section of the pack was my supplements. So I used the OptiVenture Core supplements, which are literally made for long distance hiking, and I really attribute a lot of my success on this FKT to these supplements. For those who don't know, I co-founded the company OptiVenture and helped formulate these because there was just a missing gap. There was just a gap in the market for hikers. There was no all-in-one supplement that covered the specific needs of hikers. And so I was very happy to have this on the FKT. I mean, I've been using these on all of my hikes for the last couple of years, and it really sort of was able to fill all the micronutritional gaps in my diet and help me sleep, recover, help with inflammation and all that kind of stuff. So if you guys are interested in picking up some of these, I'll also leave a link to optiventure.co in the description, and go check us out. We appreciate the support, and these are a real game changer on trail. So that was accessible right in the front. I had 2 1.5 litre plastic bottles, so that was my water capacity. Didn't really ever use all 3 litres. Mostly this is about how much I would carry, about 1 litre or so. And so this was plenty. I could probably cut this down to 2 1 litre bottles, which would have saved a few grams. So all these tiny optimizations that I'd probably make if I was to do this again. And we're pretty much coming to the end of all my gear. In my shoulder strap pocket here, I had my bivy stick, which is my satellite communicator, and also what I used to live track the entire FKT, which if you followed along online, you would have seen, which was really cool. In this left pocket, I would keep my phone, so that's where that would go. And then my hip belt pockets. So in the right side, I had this Ziploc bag of goodies, of things that I just wanted to have on hand that I didn't need to take my pack off for. I really tried to do everything whilst walking on the FKT to have as little stopping time as possible. So I ate while I walked, I brushed my teeth while I walked, all that kind of stuff. So I had my first aid kit, which was very minimal. The ducks are coming real close, which is kind of cool. Hey guys. First aid kit, I had some ibuprofen and paracetamol, some painkillers as sort of just like an emergency if I needed them, which I did use a few of those on the last day or two. And then I had some kinesiology tape, which is sort of my go-to for wound covering, for blisters and that kind of stuff. So I used a bit of that on my feet, but very minimalistic first aid kit. Didn't bring a snake bite bandage, didn't bring anything fancy. That was pretty much everything. The pigeons have joined me now as well. This is crazy. Also in my right hip belt pocket, I had my water purification tablets. So I just used chemical filtration for filtering water along the trail. I had my caffeine pills, of which I brought a lot with me. I really abused caffeine on the last couple of days specifically of the FKT. The first week, I didn't have much caffeine, but these caffeine pills really helped when the sleep deprivation was hitting on those last couple of days. I was not sleeping much, and yeah, it was needed. Also in here, I have my toothbrush, which is, you know, snapped in half, so tiny little thing. And then I had 3 Ziplocs here with just really small amounts of necessary items. So I had my sun cream, just like a few milliliters of that. I had my Vaseline, my lube, just a little bit of that in a Ziploc as well. And then my toothpaste. So I didn't want to bring like obviously a full tube of these things. It was just very small amounts in Ziploc bags. And then the other hip belt pocket I had, also something that I wanted to be accessible. I had my electrolytes, which are also from OptiVenture, although these electrolytes are unreleased. So I'm sort of just beta testing them, and they were really incredible. There was quite a few hot days where I sweated a lot, and replenishing my salts and my electrolytes was really important. And then I had my instant coffee as well. So I do love some cold water instant coffee on trail, and so this was like a nice treat every morning. And then I'd have the caffeine capsules to sort of give me a bit more of a boost throughout the day. That is literally my entire gear list. I don't think I'm missing anything. That's an empty pack. By the end of the trail, once all of my food was consumed, yeah, it was about 3 kilograms left, and so really not much weight at all. All right, that is just about everything. If you have any questions or suggestions, please drop a comment below. It'd be super cool to hear from you guys. And yeah, I had a really good time attempting this FKT, and I was very happy to be successful, super proud of the effort. And I'm already sort of setting my sights on some future FKT attempts in the unsupported category. I think that is where my strengths lie as a thru hiker. And there's some other really long trails around Australia and globally that I think would be really interesting to have a go at. So follow along on Instagram for sort of daily updates and to follow the journey of whatever the next FKT will be. And make sure to subscribe here on YouTube if you enjoyed this video. It's much appreciated. Other than that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.